Here we go again. I know you guys like sitting around the tailgate telling stories with good buddies, cracking cold ones. No matter if it's hunting season or fishing season, well, so does the Outdoor Drive podcast. So we're going to bring you Tales from the Tailgate. Back at it with another Tales from the Tailgate. This is your boy, East Coast Trev, and I'm joined by my good buddy, Mr. Madman Mardik.
What up?
What up, man?
Chilling.
You ready for a tailgate?
I've been waiting for this one for a long time.
I know, me too, dude. We got our good buddy Edwin on the phone. What's up, man?
Hey, what's going on?
How are you?
Whoa,
Good.
That's reigning squirrel competition champion. Edwin.
Oh, I'm sorry. I forgot that I messed that up.
You got to refer to the king
as the
king.
This is true.
It was a good competition this year, that's for sure. It was fun.
It was down to the neck, like all the way down to the end, and then your season, closed, right?
Yeah. Was it January, end of January? Mm-hmm. So it's like, I'm like, damn. I would have done the week, but I was fine with you pushing it out another week too. I know I couldn't hunt, but it is what it is.
Yeah, well,
it's just fun doing it.
Well, it was cool that because we had Joseph had won last year, and then you were fighting with him, so it would have been a good competition. And you're fighting against a dog, mind you, like a world champion squirrel dog.
If I didn't get the 17, I probably wouldn't even be in the picture. The 17 is the freaking money. But I got that, and that helps out a lot if I was just using my 22 before. But yeah, I procrastinated too because I don't start squirrel hunting until after the season, and Iowa closes on January 10th. So if I don't have my tags filled, I'm still deer hunting. I'm not worried about squirrels. So I got 10 days, less than everybody else. So that's kind of where I was at. So I didn't care if you pushed it back a week or forward a week. It's all for fun.
Right.
So
it is. It's all just a great time, man. It really is. So why don't you tell everybody who you are, man, where you're from, and a little bit about what you do?
I'm Ed Steinke, and I'm from Iowa, and I'm in environmental for work, but I love bow hunting. Bow hunting is my passion. I used to do everything. I was a jack of all trades when it comes to hunting, but now it's just bow hunting turkeys and deer, and I just love getting on big deer, trying to get on big deer, I guess I could say, and so that's kind of where I'm at, and I got two little boys. So I got to split time. That's the challenge. If I was just by myself with my wife, I could make it work a lot easier. But with these boys, you got to spend time with your family over hunting. That's number one. But I go when I can. So I get out, if I have 10 minutes to, before, if I get told by my wife I can go out 10 minutes, I have to get out somewhere 10 minutes. So, I'm mobile hunt. I use saddle. I don't have any stands really. Has some preset ladder sections, but yeah, I'm saddle hunting before it was even popular, before THP. So everybody was asking me questions now because I started out with I can't even remember what those are called, but just a sling, and then that was my first kill out of one of those modded slings, and then I ended up getting a Wild Edge one. I can't remember what it's called now. A Yarick. Mm-hmm. And then from there I went to, I think I had, I can't remember now, but now I'm hunting trophy line stuff. But yeah, it's been a great thing. And I do a lot of urban hunting, so I can get up on pretty much any tree. I'm a big dude, so I have to be able to get up, and I've been doing one sticking too. So that's my goal. My plan is not plan, I guess. It's what I do is urban. I one stick up and rappel down, and I've been doing that probably for the last 3 years now, and I'm enjoying that. But on my private places that I have sole access to, then I have ladder sections up, so I can just get up fast when I have time.
Mm-hmm. That's awesome, man. Well, you shot a really cool deer this year, and it has a very special story. And we're dying to hear about it, dude. So why don't you break into it and tell us a little bit about this deer and how special it actually was?
All right. Well, I'll start from the beginning of the season. So I had a game plan going forward. It is a booner or bust. Is kind of where I was going. And I had potential to do that. It's just never worked out. But I was doing my urban. I had to get my quota in for my urban tag, so it's backdated. So you have to shoot 3 does, and then you get a buck tag for the next year. So I didn't shoot any deer last year. It was my worst year in the books, and then so I was focused on getting my 3 does right away. So I focused in town. I got them real fast, and I was done. So then I waited, and then started to go out and hunt hard. And I had potential to get the booners, but they just never showed up, and then they disappeared on me. And I hunted hard. I had a bunch of cameras up. I was using data. I'm a big stats guy, so if I have something that's showing up more than 4 or 5 times, I have it in an Excel spreadsheet with the wind, temperature. I'm down it down where they're at, the pressure, all that stuff. So, and I'm putting in charts and charting and all that. So that's kind of where I started. I was hunting hard. I've been seeing a lot of young deer. I was just filling my tag. I could have been done quick, but I was kind of holding out for a special one. And so rut comes along, and I didn't even have a chance at anything shootable, which is fine. I'm not hunting to hunt. I don't care what the size is, but I'm not going to shoot a 2.5-year-old anymore. And so then I'm like, I need to venture out, get out of my comfort zone. And I'm just looking at some public. I've had a lot of luck on private. A lot of my places, I'm losing access to them. Changing job, I lost the place. That was pretty solid. Where I killed 2 of my bucks, 2020. So I had to start looking for new places when my places I had that are private weren't producing. And what I hunt a lot, I hunt small chunks. I hunt anywhere from 3 acres to 18 acres to 115 acres, but majority of my properties are 10 and less, especially my urban places. So that's what kind of I was focusing on. I didn't have data on anything. I was going out. My other goal for the year was to be more efficient. So not just to go out, but to be more efficient, you have to have the data to drive that. And I didn't have that. So I ended up hunting more than I wanted to because I wanted to hunt less, spend more time with the kids, but be more successful. But it didn't really happen. So rut gets over, shotgun season comes. I shotgun hunt with my group of buddies. I only get doe tags, so I could save my other buck tag for bow season in Iowa, so I can get 2 state bow tags. Buddy shoots a real nice one, probably close to a booner, and I'm like, dang, maybe I should have got a buck tag and went, but got pretty discouraged. And then I was about to quit, really, honestly, because I've hunted a lot. My wife was getting kind of to the point where she was getting pretty fed up with it. So if your wife's not happy, it just makes everything miserable. So I was really heeding those words because of the season starts in September. This is mid-December. Into the first shotgun season. I can't hunt the second shotgun season, so I had to wait until bow season opened back up. But I didn't have any data driving me to go anywhere, and it was late season, which of all my bucks I kill or shoot, I'm pretty solid in late season. I don't know why I get down on myself. Like, late season is my favorite time to hunt, but I just didn't have the data, so I wasn't expecting much, and that's what pushed me to some of these public areas. And I put these cameras out, not knowing how hard this one. I found this little piece of public. I don't know. It's probably 40 acres or so, and I hunted it a handful of times, but I saw deer, but nothing, shoot worthy. It's kind of hard to access, and so I just set my cameras up. I had a couple of good trails that weren't too far away from the parking lot, and I put the cell camera out, and I'm like, it's a gamble. I might get it stolen, but hey, it's a spy point. So if it gets stolen, it's all right, I guess. I'm not too.
I feel that.
So then, my son's wrestling started picking up, and so the time was really a limiting factor now. So I wasn't going out unless I had something to go out for. And I don't even know what we were doing, getting ready for the January for, New Year's. And I think we were somewhere, and I get a picture, and the first picture was on the 29th of December. And I'm like, what is going on with this deer? And then I'm like, well, that's a neat deer. I'm like, why is he coming in the middle of the day? I just didn't know. And it was just piqued my interest. Well, then I got a picture at the same time the next day. So I'm like, oh, well, now he's patterned in his 10-minute window. So I'm like, I got to go after this. And I mean, I used all my brownie points. And I had another camera out too. So I was getting pictures of him coming back through at nighttime, but these were like middle of the day. So I just didn't know, where he was going or what was the driving force of, is he getting bumped? Is he just, because he's just walking through. So I didn't think he was scared, but he was kind of sickly. so so I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna be safe, and I get out. I didn't go hunting in the morning. I'm like, I'm gonna go out at 10 o'clock. So I go out at 10 o'clock. The wind was finicky. Like I had to make what I did work. It was the worst wind possible, but I didn't want to pass 3 days up with him coming by at some roughly the same time. And so it got to be about I was sitting there, my legs are falling asleep because I was on the ground really, and I was in a clump of island of two big oaks, and I was about 20 yards from my camera, and I'm like, if he comes through here, it's the trick would be with him not smelling me because there's a couple of trails that were super close to me, and by this time I didn't care if I busted him out. It was getting close to the end of the season anyway, so it's like one Hail Mary left. And so I'm sitting there and I'm standing there and I'm like, this is stupid. I've never hunted in the middle of the day at late season. And I'm like, this isn't going to work. But I had those pictures in my head and my wife's like, did you get them yet? I'm like, no, I haven't even seen anything. And I'm getting cold because it was cold. And I was just like, okay. So then it was like about 12:15 and I see tines and he skirts my camera on the back side. So he comes by me and I'm like, I had no shot. And he's still like 25 yards from me, but he went in the brush behind my camera and I had no shot. I'm like, no, I knew I should have got closer to my camera. And so I was defeated, but I waited because I didn't know where he was going. I don't know, where he went. I kind of thought I heard him go down in the bottom. I wasn't for sure. And so I sat there for another hour. So this was like, I don't know, close to 2 o'clock. Texting my friends, I'm like, should I just go home and wait, come back next or tomorrow and try to the same time, And they're like, you're already out. You might as well stay out there 2 hours before it gets dark anyway. I'm like, yeah, but I'm like, what's the chances, I'm like, well, I want to know where he goes because there's snow on the ground, a little bit of snow on the ground, I think. Can't remember. No, there wasn't snow, but I wanted to see if he was still down below me in this creek bottom. So I crawled to the edge of the timber and dropped off into this creek bottom. And I was like, nah, he's not here. I'm like, I think I'm just going to sit here on this trail and just pray and hope that something comes through. And if it's nothing worthy of shooting, then I'll just spook them and call it good and pull my camera. So I sat there and it was about 3:30. He came. I saw a flick of a tail, and I'm like, "What?" And so I pulled up my binoculars, and I'm like, "That's a deer." And he was eating out of a tree, and I saw his rack, and I'm like, "Well, that's him." Like, and then he started going to the south of me and up towards some fields. So I figured he's just gonna go up and feed. So I'm like, okay, he's still down there now, but he's gonna go up there, and he disappeared going that way. So I'm like, there's no chance. So I'm like, all right, do I stay here? Do I try to sneak up on him at this point? And by the pictures, if you see the pictures, you'll know he wasn't, he's very skinny. So I didn't think I had more gumption to try to do a sneak on him, and just because of his health wise, that I think I could get through. But I'm like, no. Like I always tell myself, don't move. If you have a plan, stick with your plan. Write it out. So I wrote it out, and about 4 o'clock when it started getting dark, and I saw some movement again down by the creek, about where he was at, but I didn't see him come back down from the hill. And the timber and the brush was just way too thick to even see. I'm like, is that him? I didn't know. And then I video, try to zoom in on him, but it didn't work. And I'm like, I'm just gonna sit here. So I sat there, and I'm like, he popped and walked down in the creek and then back up, and I'm like, that's him. That is him. And I'm like, oh crap, he's coming this way. So he's walking towards me, but there's two major trails that come and like a V and split me. So he could either come up to me on the top where he went by me the first time, or he could go and walk the bottom around the creek. And I'm like, well, shoot. I'm like, and I'm on the ground, no cover. I got to pull back without him seeing me. He's coming right at me. I'm like, this isn't going to pan out. I'm going to get caught. And I was actually setting up on the same trail that he went down on just because I thought he was going to come back up. And then he ended up veering off and going around me. And I had him, I thought he was around 35 yards. But right when he got behind a big oak, I pulled back, and I should have stopped him, but I didn't realize it was, he was that far away. But I had a lower shot, but he was weaker, pretty weak. So when I shot him, he just dropped. And and I'm like, no way. I'm like, the plan didn't work like I wanted it to, but it ended up that he came back, and I can't believe he came back, but he definitely is a special buck. I don't think he would have made it another week just by the way he looked. That one picture of him laying in the grass, everybody thought that was just a dead deer I found, but honestly, I ended up calling the DNR to ask if I had to eat him because I didn't want to waste him. And DNR is like, yeah, no, I saw your post. You don't have to eat him. But yeah, I was by myself. That was my first buck in public. And I don't know how many years. It just it was pretty crazy because it worked out, and I just stood to my plan, but I was out in the middle of the open, and it was just crazy. But it was those trail cam pictures and him coming in at the same time, it's always about if you pattern them, get on them, and that's what I did. I kind of just patterned him, and like I said, I didn't have the data. It was just a one day I saw him, and then the next day it's the same 10 minutes. So I had to do something, and I had the ability to get on him, and my wife let me go, I guess. And so it ended up being, he was like 80 pounds. I don't even know. I had to field dress him just to get him up out of the goalie, but it was nasty. I'm thinking he was gut shot early in the season, and I don't know how he still had antlers. And fun fact is that I pulled him out by myself and got him all loaded up and got him home and did the measurements for my competitions and stuff. But then I started to, I was going to do a Euro, and stupid me, I was, I had him on the ground, and I went to pick him up, and then one of his antlers popped off.
Really?
I'm like, oh shit. Yeah. But my taxidermist fixed it. But,
That's wild.
This was what, the 31st or the first?
It was New Year's.
Okay, yeah.
It was.
Yeah,
So
I got the trail camera pictures here from the 31st, so that was the day before.
Yep, and then you should have one from. If not, I'll send it to you. But there's one from the 30th too, I think.
Yep, I got the 30th, and then two from the 31st.
Yep.
That's wild. So do you think that was there a hole in him or anything that had?
I looked, and he was pretty nasty. I wasn't gonna like really get into it, but on the outside, it looked like he had two on the back end. Like in the liver area, that he had two healed sores. But I think if he made it that long and they were healed, that he would have made it. But I mean, he had no fat. I mean, he had no fat left on him.
It's it's crazy because I mean, what he's got to be what 20 over 20 inches wide.
Yeah, he was like a little less than 23 inches
Yeah, but
because it goes up and out.
some of the pictures, I mean, this one picture, it almost looks like he's caped out, laying in the
Yeah,
grass next to you.
yeah. And that was right after I took, I was right before the hero pictures with my boys. So
Right. Yep.
yeah, it was crazy, and
That's
yeah,
nuts. Did he have like? He said he was nasty inside. He like stunk or
yeah.
like.
No, when I opened him up, he had a lot of internal bleeding. So I don't know if
Mm.
I don't think it was from my shot, but it was an excessive amount. Like it wasn't normal. I don't think. But I was shaking. It's been a long time since I shot a buck on the ground, and just how it all worked out. I was shaking, and
That's such a
Absolutely.
cool
No,
story.
now, was there a reason why you were on the ground? Because you, you said before you were kind of sit up between a couple oak trees.
so the wind. So if the wind was blowing out of the north, and he was coming in from the southeast,
Yeah.
and so the wind was blowing kind of from the northwest, so it was blowing right to him. So I had to set up somewhere between my camera, and the only place I had was just like a little island of trees. And so then once he came by the backside of my camera, I'm like, shit. Um, then it went down and I lost sight of him. I stopped hearing him. That's when I'm like, okay, do I go home and try this again tomorrow? But I ended up sticking it out and going over to the edge so I could look down into the creek bottom.
Right. So were the
And
trees just like scrub brush trees, like nothing you could hang in?
no, it was like a old homestead. So it's like we're around where it's all CRP around there, and then just those two big trees, like where a house used to be. And so I was on my knees because I knew he was coming through, and I needed a place to, like, if I could see him, hoping that he would come one of the trails that were right there, so that I had a chance to pull back and shoot, and he would have been like 15 yards or something, but going into the timber. But and I had to do it that way because I was planning on getting up in a tree I had picked out, but with that wind, everything would have blew right where he was coming through by my camera, so I couldn't do that, and I didn't want to not hunt it because with 2 days in a row,
Yeah,
chances of I had to jump in there. So
absolutely. If you get a buck on camera 2 days in a row, you better be there on the third day.
and with 10 minutes or what 11 minutes or something, it was just crazy. I was like going nuts. I'm like, I have to. My wife's like, oh, okay. I'm like, you're only going. Ended up being a pretty long episode because I had to. It was like 4:15 or something when I shot, so it ended up being the whole
Yeah.
day.
I swear, I
She was
swear,
happy.
I swear, baby, he's gonna show up at 1:40 tomorrow.
I'm like, he just came by me, and she's like, really? She's like, okay, are you coming home now? I'm like, no. Yeah. But I don't know. It's just one of those things. It I was happy with. I was so happy with. I didn't care what he could have scored 50 inches at that
Hmm.
point because I don't think he would have made it. So I think I actually did him a favor, and I patterned him in a place I had no real data on anything. Like I had that camera out for a month before that. Never had him on it. Never.
Do you know why he
So
was moving during that time frame?
I'm guessing that I don't. I don't know. I honestly don't know because he was eating something down by the creek that was he really liked, but then I saw him going up to the fields. So I don't know if he was just
He was
trying to
just
eat. But
staging
yeah,
before
he
he
was
was.
staging it. Yeah, he was staging like because he was down there for a while, and I'm like I'm just watching him, and I know I was like glassing him, and then I was glassing like the trees to make sure if he comes one way, I would have him, to be able to, whatever the yardage was. But yeah, it seemed like it took forever for him to finally make his way through.
Mm.
And by that time, I think he saw me pull back, and when I wasn't, I should have stopped him, but I didn't. I didn't think he was that far enough that it made a difference. But I shot a little bit back, but he just dropped, and then it was over because he just didn't have the energy. But the thing it wasn't a 200-inch deer because he probably just took off. But
I've never seen a deer like that ever.
Nah. Was there
Like that
any
was just
was there any talk with the game? Like, there's no speculation of like EHD or anything like that.
no, I don't think it was EHD. EHD would have been done by that time because it was in December, January, and
Okay.
EHD, is a summerish disease, so he would have
right.
died a long time ago with
Okay.
EHD. Chronic wasting, I don't think it was chronic wasting because he was physically there. He wasn't like a zombie. He
Right.
was being a deer, and you could see in the photos he was there. He was moving and he was cruising. So I don't know. It was just like one of the weird things. I scouted that place. I was pretty much hanging everything up for the season, and he showed up, and like I said, it was a small little place, less than 50 acres, and I just happened to find it, and not a lot of people know about it. But
It's
so
it's crazy how those deer are so like their will to live is incredible. Whitetails,
yeah,
it's absolutely nuts. Like seeing that deer and his will to live and go and move on, like and still be a
yeah,
deer. Like it's incredible.
yeah. It was emotional for me because I'm like, man, this deer wasn't healthy, probably wasn't feeling good,
Mm-hmm.
and I got down there and he didn't smell good, and it's just I'm like this poor guy was just, but he was still doing deer things, and
Mm-hmm.
like who knows, maybe he would have made it. I don't know if he would have. The winter's not very harsh this year, but I don't know if he would have made it two weeks. But yeah, it just was crazy, and I was like, I can't believe he kept his antlers on. I honestly thought he would have dropped a long time ago.
Especially that late January 1st and having the wounds
Yeah,
and problems that
yeah,
he did. I It's kind of funny because actually today in the Euro shop, I did a Euro on it. I took it out of the beetles and the bridge of its nose was snapped, the bottom of its eyes were snapped, the whole front of the face was literally snapped off. He had one antler broken off of him and this deer was shot in the rut and
really.
literally yeah and
Wow.
had that will to live that he broke his entire bridge of his nose, his bottom of his eye. Like I could probably, if I wanted to, pull his whole entire front of his face off and it would be just a skull cap and that deer
It's
still was
crazy.
alive. Like, and to see
They're warriors.
this, yeah,
Yeah.
you
I mean,
s-
it's yeah, it gets you crazy. Like, and we have a hard time, like if something doesn't go our way and we have a hard time and we think the world's ending, but you got these animals out there that just like, I mean, he was knocking on death's door, but he was finding a way, and like I said, he's not the biggest deer, but I don't care. I mean, just the story alone, I got
mm,
on him. I pattered him for 3 days, and it worked out. And it would have worked out on the same time too if I was in the right, if the wind was right, I would have had it. And it just lasted a couple hours longer than I wanted it to. So, but it's like you just gotta. I mean, I'm a big supporter. You have to have the data, and you don't have the data, you're wishing and hoping, and that's what I was. I was wishing and hoping. I'm like, I'm gonna hunt here because all my other places weren't panning out, and I'm like, what am I? I'm not losing anything. It's not the rut. Um, you're hoping that they come through and for food, but you don't know there's food around me, but you don't know if it's getting hit. It's private, so it's like I don't know. I'm just trying to venture out and get a couple more spots, and it worked out. So
it's an
Uh,
amazing story.
yeah.
I love it. I think it's absolutely incredible, especially that deer and what he's been through, and to put him out of his
yeah.
misery. And it's an incredible,
I call
incredible
him
story.
skinny because man, I call him skinny, and I don't, you know, I'm not big into names, but he's skinny. He's just cool. I don't care what people think. He's wide. His antler kind of goes out and up, and he's just a cool deer, and I'll shoot a cool character deer
Mm-hmm.
any day. I don't care. Someday my boys will shoot the 200 inches. I don't care. Let them have those. I'll I shot a triple beam on 2 years ago that was freaking neat, but it was a skull plate on his like his like G2 like morphed into like a skull plate and it looked like that. Those weird ones, just I like them.
That's what
I
I
like the
like.
weird.
Mm-hmm. They all have good stories to them. That's the most important thing. Like this one, like
Yeah.
Skinny did.
Yep. And everybody's like, "Man, what'd you do? Find that on the road, dead?" And I'm like, "Dude, I have video. I have track. I have a video of me shooting him. So I mean, I'm like, it's probably not good to post, but it's. I'm like, I have videos and those trail cam pictures. You can't tell me he wasn't alive."
Well, that's the thing is, if you didn't have those trail cam pictures and stuff, people would think that you picked that thing up off the
Yeah,
side of the road.
I would probably think that. I would think that deer has been dead for a couple,
I didn't.
2 or 3 days.
I
Yeah,
think
yeah.
somebody commented that
In
when
their
he
group.
posted it, and
Yeah.
they said it looks like he's been dead for a while or something like that.
Yeah,
Nobody.
but
I remember seeing the Tacticam footage myself. I saw you shoot it.
it doesn't help that I find a lot of deadheads, so everybody thinks
True.
that's the other thing. So, but it is what it is. That's what happens when I don't know. The more I go out, and I've been hunting for a while and just getting serious about it. 10 years ago is when I started to really, get serious about it. But, these young kids haven't made it, the days now. They can get on YouTube, they can listen to your guys' podcast, they can go anywhere and get all this information. And, when I started saddle hunting, it was just, talking to people that were hunting down south and trying to see what they were doing and,
Mm-hmm.
trying to mod my sling to make me, somewhat comfortable, and the kids have it easier today, but I think it's a double-bladed sword too. You got to push yourself and find those little hidden gems, and you got to maybe go farther. And if people are going farther, then you got to go closer. Just
Mm-hmm.
got to switch the game up. And the more I go out, the more I just like going out. I don't care if I shoot one. Yeah, it's nice. I get happier. If I miss one, I get mad. My wife pays for it, but I mean, it is what it is. And the biggest thing I've been trying to do is be more efficient. Hunt less, but make the time that you hunt driven by data, and your efficiency will go up. So
Yeah, and it
I
looks like
mean,
it paid off in this one.
yeah, I mean, I honestly was starting to pack my stuff up and getting ready for the squirrel competition and saying, "Hey, I'm done," because who knows, after 4 months of hunting, and then you tell your wife you got another month of squirrel competition, she's really gonna love you. She really gonna love you. So yeah, and it's good to finally. I wish I would have went to some of the Deer Classic and meet you, Trev, but I just never got a chance to get up there and go because not too far away from there, but it just never worked out. I wanted to meet you when I was up in Maryland or something, sometime. But
It'll
yeah,
happen sooner than later.
sometime I'll definitely be a part of the squirrel hunting competition going forward. Those little calls are bad, man. Those glow in the dark calls, man. I told my wife, I'm like, I probably never would have bought this, but man, this is neat to have.
That's awesome, man. It's absolutely
Yeah,
great.
shout out to Nor'easter.
Yeah. Mark does an amazing job with that
He
stuff. He really
does.
does.
It's like a piece of art. I don't even know if I want to take it out.
No. Well, you got to. It's lifetime
I know,
warranted, so you got to
to.
take it out, right?
I don't have a dog, so I have to have something.
I
Tree
love
rats.
it. Oh.
He's gonna get like 40 next year. I'm not even gonna have a chance. So,
Well, you got a call now, so you'll get 41. Yeah, right?
you hunt squirrels in the dark.
Yeah. Well,
No, it's been good. It's been good. It really has. And I thank you for letting me get on here. I told you it was a pretty fun story. I probably missed a lot, but it was definitely something I would never forget. And I definitely gonna hit that spot more. I think that's just a little diamond in the rough, and I found it after it was already past rut. So it was like, man, I missed a chance here, and not anymore. I'll be there.
It's definitely something about those old grown up, overgrown homesteads.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean,
There's always transition lines there and habitat breaks and all
yeah.
that stuff, and deer are always attracted to that kind of stuff, no matter where in the country you are.
And where he was coming from, he must have been only like bedded down 10, 15 yards from me. He must have just been over the ridge and he was walking up and around to get around the fence because, I mean, I don't think he could have jumped. I mean,
Mm.
that's probably where he felt comfortable and he could get out through the bottom or the top. So maybe that's where he was at. And I did find beds over there when I went and looked and pulled my camera. So maybe that was him. So, but yeah, if that was him, I was right there close to him. So,
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Was it was that he was getting up out of his bed, and I'm surprised you
yeah,
didn't bump him out of wherever he was right then and there, being that close to him. That's what I was thinking when with the trail cam
yeah,
pictures of him being that close and showing up
Yeah,
in the middle of the day. He was just on one of those 5 feeds where,
catching it
and I
exactly.
was like 40 yards from my car. I mean, it was crazy. It was just
yeah,
nuts.
he's just used to it. Them
So
urban deer do crazy things, right? I mean,
it wasn't an urban deer. This was out in the country. So it was like, it was weird. I just think he
huh?
was sick
Yeah,
and,
But like you
and
said,
no one's, I didn't see very much pressure there. So he's probably just going through his routine.
mm.
He just never did that before,
He's
I
just a
don't, like I
deer
said,
being a deer.
I guess, or something, or he got bumped somewhere and wound up there, and because I didn't have him, 3 weeks before, but
Right,
who knows,
that's
just
crazy.
or he was going around my camera and I just wasn't getting him. So
Mm.
it's just crazy. If you can't get one if you're not going out or putting the time in, so that's just got, but make it efficient.
Absolutely.
I'm a big believer sometimes that I swear sometimes these deer just it's kind of weird, but it's almost like they choose their time and they choose their hunter, and it's all like in the cards ahead of time. And like this story really reminds me of that, where this
Yeah,
almost like this deer sought you out, and it was written in the cards that this is how it was going to go down.
yeah, like you can be skillful, but I'll take luck any day, over skillful. But yeah, it's like I said, I was talking about that other buck, that urban buck. I had him all planned out, and I had charts and when I knew when he was coming through. I had him all dialed in, but it seemed like every time I tried to move on him, he was doing the opposite. So it
Hmm.
was, it's crazy. It's a cat and mouse game. You just got to be there. And I was just throwing everything I had in the last, hoping that he'd come by the third time, and he did. So,
It's awesome.
yeah.
Well, he made it happen. Well, we appreciate you jumping on, Edwin, and telling the story of Skinny. It was a really cool deer, and we'll share some pictures to everybody throughout after this comes out, and
Yeah.
everyone can kind of see what he's like. But we really do appreciate you jumping on and telling the story, and we're glad that you put him out of his misery, and now he'll be remembered forever.
Yep, definitely. Appreciate it. Thank you guys.
Absolutely. And everybody else, thanks for taking the ride right here on the Outdoor Drive.